Welcome back to the Power of One podcast. I am Jennifer Page, president of Champions for CASA, the nonprofit auxiliary of the 8th Judicial Court CASA program here in Clark County, Nevada. We are here on the beautiful Las Vegas Strip at the South Point Hotel and Casino. I am joined by my co-host, Emilio Swan, who has been speaking firsthand to us about what the CASA Las Vegas program can do to change lives.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Emilio Swan. I'm 25 years old, and I spent 18 years in the foster care system. I'm also a U.S. Marine and a law enforcement officer.
And we're also joined today by two of our esteemed guests who have joined us. We really appreciate you being here today. So first we have Sasha Ritchie, who's the program director at Foster Kinship. And then we also have Alex Bernal, a foster parent. And so first and foremost, not only thank you for being here, but thank you both for what you do. We need so many more foster parents, and the support that I know Foster Kinship gives to our kids in care is just fantastic. So thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and start, Sasha, with you. If you can tell us a little bit about what you do, what the program is, and help educate us a little bit.
Yes. So Foster Kinship, we serve all of Nevada's counties, and we were founded in 2011 by Dr. Ali Caliendo. And we serve kinship caregivers, which are relative caregivers. So when kids cannot live with their parents, we want them to live with their relatives or relative-like, which would be fictive kins. And then recently, we also expanded our programs. Now we also serve individuals who have adopted or taken guardianship, and then birth parents who are in reunification and providing them with supportive services as well. So we do so much, and I'm excited to dive into all of the programs that we have at Foster Kinship.
What's so exciting to me, and I loved learning more about what you do, is the fact that kids get to stay with someone they actually know. And I think that's such an important element of it, as I'm sure we'll go throughout the rest of the next time that we have together. So.
Yeah.
All right. And Alex, how about you? Tell us what it's like being a foster parent. How long have you been doing it? How many kids have you served?
I've been for about 17 years. It's kind of like a roller coaster, but it's a good roller coaster, though. As long as you stay on the ride, it's a good ride.
And do you work with a certain age group, or do you work with more boys or girls, or how do you get to choose what kids you work with? How does that all work?
I like working with teen boys. No, and I think it's the reason why is because my job, I work for the county also, and I work with teens. So that's my specialty, and I feel like, I'm going to work with that target population, especially boys, because I feel like when I was noticing a lot of kids were coming into my center, and kids are on probation, kids that were court ordered, getting in a lot of trouble. And when I would do the intakes, I'd be like, hey, tell me about your parents. And it was always mothers, but I didn't hear a lot of fathers in their lives. So, to be able to help change that culture, I just figured, let me just jump in and let me try this. Let me try to be a foster parent. And I thought I was just going to do it for like one child, and it's turned out to be, I don't even know, I lost count. How many children?
That's so fantastic. So, Emilio, I know you have a lot to say.
Oh, man, definitely. To both ends, both Sasha's and Alex's.
Alex was one of your foster parents.
Yes. So for the viewers that don't know, Alex was actually my last foster parent before I aged out of the foster system, and probably one of the most, I want to say, one of the biggest role models as well as a foster parent as well, because it was that last intervention before I stepped off into adulthood. It was like, all right, well, I know nothing about being an adult, so let me absorb as much as I can from this man before I head off into this new journey, this new path. And oh man, I remember the first thing you said to me when I stepped inside your house was, take off your shoes, you're gonna be here for a while. And I remember I was like, that's not usually what, usually first time I come into a house, all right, these are the house rules. This is this time we get up. This is what time we do this. You're going to get grades, all this. The first words you said to me was, take off your shoes. You're going to be here for a while. Why do you say that? Because you not only said it to me, but every single kid that has come into your home.
Because I think when kids get into a home, they don't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. First of all, I work with a lot of foster parents, and they always go, aren't you as scared of these kids? They're coming. You don't even know these kids. And I'm thinking, these are kids also scared of you. I never wanted a kid to feel scared. And when you walked in, I remember you wouldn't take off your shoes. And I always thought to myself, is he a runner? Is he somebody that's going to run? So I always wanted to make sure that every kid that walks in my home is, take your shoes off. You're going to be here a while. I want them to know this is their home. You're not leaving. So you're good. And I'll never forget the day you started taking off your shoes. It was like, I felt like he gets it. He's in his home.
I have tears. I can't even. So we're going to have to cut the camera off me for a minute, because I can't even keep it together. Sasha, can you tell us a little bit, what's that like for the fictive kid, right? So obviously they have a bond with the child already, but what's your experience as far as what the kid goes through and what that family goes through in that introduction piece?
Yes, so for relative or relative-like placements, when we're collaborating with our families, they already have a pre-established relationship with their children. So I feel like it makes it a little bit easier for children to feel at home. But there's still a different layer of rapport and trust building that we try to make sure that relative placements like understand like these are still kids that are confused and scared and they don't know what's going to happen or when they're going to go back home or how long they're going to stay with you. So still holding on to that perspective, even if you're grandma or even if, maybe you're a school teacher or a godparent or whatever your relationship is, like those fears with kids still don't get mitigated just because you're a relative.
My adopted parents didn't have the proper training. They didn't have the proper support. They weren't prepared. They just had their first biological son, let alone taking in 3 at the same time. They're the age that I am today, 25, when they adopted us. I cannot imagine taking on 3 kids right now and having my own biological with no proper training, especially with the knowledge that I have now of the system. And sometimes I think back of, it was a year that Foster Kinship was founded after I was adopted. What would that family have looked like had they had that training, had they had the resources that Foster Kinship provided? So if you don't mind diving into a little bit about how you train some of the kinship caregivers to be ready to take in kids, the trauma informed, the relationships, working with CASAs, working with other workers that are in their life, if you don't mind diving into that.
Absolutely. Whenever people ask what does foster kinship do? Sometimes it's easier to say, what don't we do? But kinship is really unique because with relative placements, it could happen because we have kids entering the system and then parents will identify a relative placement. And so grandma, aunt, uncle, godparent, maybe even a teacher, right? Someone trusted within the family system will get a phone call that, hey, kiddo is going into child haven or, the foster care system. Are you able to take them in? So a lot of the times caregivers have to make a very split second decision on yes, absolutely, right? I will take in my child. It's their family.
I think that's a great segue. So Alex, what's it like for you? You get a kid who comes into your home, right? And you become their foster parent. How do you start to integrate that child? How do you start to bond with them? How does that work for you?
It's not a cookie cutter. Every kid is different. And actually, when I pick them up from Child Haven, that's where it starts. So I'll drive up to Child Haven, pick them up, get them in the car, and we head to a store and to get everything that they need that they didn't have. Mm-hmm. As I'm driving them, I'm telling them who I am, what I do for a living, what the home is, what it looks like, who else is in that home, other youth, what kind of youth are they, what kind of music they like. I asked if they cook. And do they know how to wash clothes? Do they know how to do these things? Because I usually get the older teens, but as I'm talking to them, I'm building that bond. I don't have rules. I just have expectations. I expect you as you're a young man. I expect you to do the right thing. I expect you to clean up after yourself. I expect you to learn how to cook. Because these are things that once you turn 18, you move on. You're gonna have to know how to do these things. So I call it like Man 101. And it's like they get the microwave version of it, for the most part. I do have some youth that have been with me for many years, but most of the youth I get I get them for about a year and a half, maybe, if that.
Yeah. So something I want to touch back that you mentioned, foster parents. I've noticed I've been through over 20 homes or 20 houses. I would rather say. Over 20 houses. A lot of the workers in social work, a lot of CASA workers, a lot of people in these areas are women. There is very, very few men that I have noticed, at least that I have personally come across from. So as a man, how does it feel in your shoes to step up to this role, to be almost a father figure? Because that's what you were to me, was a father figure. So what is that like for you?
I feel like it's my duty. I feel like growing up, I had a father, but I didn't have a father. Mm-hmm. I think my father was more focused on his career and and alcohol that I felt neglected. And so what I was lacking as a child, I felt like when I became an adult and I had my own biological children, I was going to just love them overboard. I was going to tell them I love them. Things that I didn't get, I was probably doing too much. I was overdoing it. But then I noticed when I became a foster parent, I had to do the same. I wanted to. So what I was missing as a child, I just said, they're not going to have that. They're not going to miss the fact that they're being loved, that they're getting structured. But you're also going to turn around and say, hey, man, I love you, man. We're going to get this right.
Well, you know, I have to tell you, one of the things that I love most about doing this right now, and this episode in particular, is all four of us are here around these kids, right? And it's such an important thing because there are so many ways to help. And so I look at it and say, especially to our viewers who are out there, we talk about it all the time on The Power of One. We need more CASA volunteers. Please become a CASA volunteer. We need everybody, right? So if CASA volunteer isn't right for you, become a foster parent. Do what Alex is doing here. Help a kid. It's all about the kids, right? And so we just really want to stress and emphasize there's a lot of ways to get involved and help kids that need it.
It's just lovely to see that a group of us, whether we're blood or not, like what a difference we can make in a child's life.
Well, I think that makes the absolute perfect ending. So on behalf of Emilio and I, thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I could sit and talk about this stuff for hours. So thank you so much.